a good Saturday morning to you here on KCYK, Yuma, AM 1400. Welcome to this Saturday morning's edition of Laptime Live, brought to you by Cocopah Casino and by 1 Hour Air Conditioning and Heating. Racing Radio here on Outlaw Country, AM 1400. I'm your host, Mike Stanhope, and thank you so much for joining us today. A special race day edition of Laptime Live as we get set for action tonight. Round number 6 of the 2013 Cocopah Speedway Racing Series. A fast one-week turnaround from last Saturday, featuring action tonight in all 5 local divisions. And set to join us as part of today's preview is Brian Kerwin, driver of the number 41 IMCA Northern Sport Modified. Brian currently sitting 5th in the Northern Sport Mod season standings, and he'll be joining us in just a few minutes. First, though, we take a look at the updated point standings, where with one exception, all of the divisions are seeing some shuffling and some tightening in the battle for the individual season championships. First of all, in the Napa Auto Parts factory stocks, Miles Morris still your points leader at a 191. Alpine California's Wayne Rabello just 5 points back in the number 2 position. It's Yuma's Rick Hibbard in the number 3 season point spot for the factory stocks, with Jason Beshears in the number 4 spot. He's the driver of the number 64 factory, and Matthew Sherrar rounds out your top 5 in the factory stocks. Now, Jordan White, driver of the number 86 factory stock, took the feature win last Saturday night. That was his second victory of the season. He'll enter competition tonight, sitting 8th in the point standings. That position outside the top 5, well, partially due to White taking a week off back on March 16th to get married. And we'd like to pass along our congratulations to both he and his bride, Vanessa. Now, White also brought his number 86 machine back out to compete later in the street stock feature, but got collected up in a racing incident, damaging his car. As of yesterday afternoon, though, he and his crew putting the finishing touches on the fixes, and he looks to be back out for competition tonight. Next in the IMCA Northern Sport Mods, it is Ty Rogers on top in the season point standings, with Brawley's Cody Daffern in the number 2 position. Just a couple of points back of Daffern, it's Yuma's James Dupree, driver of the number 84. In the number 4 spot, Timmy Reese, driver of the number 38, and as noted at the top of the program, Brian Kerwin, driver of the number 41 Sport Mod in the number 5 position. Now, Rogers in his 18 machine picked up his 5th straight Cocopah Speedway Racing Series win of the year last Saturday night. Competition behind him, though, picking up some ground. Rogers found himself near the rear of the field last week after a spin early on in the feature, with Holtville's Chris Toth in the 57 CT machine assuming command. The Yuma's Timmy Reese in the number 38 was right with him much of the way. Rogers, though, able to work back through traffic and drive around both Reese and Toth to ultimately grab the win. A couple of new cars also seeing action last week. Miles Morris bringing out the Northern Sport Mod that he purchased from last year's national champ, Jesse Sobbing, and also making his debut in the Sport Mods, Jason Penny, behind the wheel of a race car here in Yuma for the first time since the late 1990s. In the Fisher Automotive Street Stocks, your top 5 shaken out as follows. Stephen Daffern, at a Brawley, driver of the number 81 machine. He is your points leader in the Fisher Automotive Street Stocks. Adolfo Noriega in the number 35, 6 points back of Daffern. It's Alpine's Mike Harlan in the number 3 spot, with Chula Vista's Manny Baldavillas in the number 4 position, and Yuma's Jimmy Davey in the number 144, rounding out your top 5 in the Street Stocks. Now, action last week in the Street Stocks, well, really kind of reaching a crescendo. The crowd on its feet and roaring on more than one occasion, and we're looking forward to more of the same tonight. Brawley's Stephen Daffern in the number 81 drove off to the feature win after a big-time duel with Noriega in the number 35, both men swapping positions at the front of the field on several occasions early on, in a race that also saw Yuma's Dave Amos in the number 6 up in flames for the second week in a row as an engine issue spewed flames from the rear of his car. Amos, though, looking to be back in action tonight, as is Jimmy Davey in the number 144, who spun while running 3rd, collected up 4 other cars in a turn 4 pileup, severely bending the frame on his car. And we offer up a tip of the hat also to Timmy Reese in the number 38. Doing double duty was Reese, who also drove in the Sport Mods, and Reese put together a very nice run in the streets to finish 3rd in last week's action. Next up, the Pro Stocks, where your top 5 will round out as follows. It is Brett Samala in the number 1 on the points lead in the Pro Stocks, with Lakeside, California's Mike Lurwill moving up to take the number 2 position, just 6 points back of Samala. Joe Haynes, driver of the number 17Z from right here in Yuma, dropping back to 3rd in the points, with Brawley's Roy Daffern sitting 4th, and Yuma's Frankie Rascone sitting in the number 5 position. Now, Samala was back in victory lane during last Saturday's action, but not without a little bit of drama, as Yuma's Rascone in the number 8 was out to the early lead and holding a fair margin until getting his car out of shape in turns 3 and 4. Samala there to take advantage, driving off for the feature win. Lurwill and Brawley's Jason Higginbottom waged a nice battle for second, with Higginbottom ultimately taking that spot. Rough night again for Steve Anthony, who grenaded an engine early, ending his evening broken crank and rods, among other things. Anthony and crew going to a backup motor, which they were putting the finishing touches on last night. And finally, in the IMCA Modifieds, Lance Maury from out of Imperial, still your points leader in the 19 SB. It's Brawley's Russell Allen in the number 2 spot in the 23R, with Imperial's Dwayne Rogers in the DR89 sharing the number 3 spot with Yuma's Keith Tabor in the 28. Both of those drivers 23 points back of Maury. And in the number 5 position, Imperial Steve McCullough in the number 15. Now, Maury in the 19 SB picked up the feature win in the Modifieds last Saturday, another race that had the fans on their feet. Kent Rosevear in the 02 Modified, a car of his own design, racing for just the second time this season, took off to the early lead, only to be reeled in by Yuma's Bobby Horton in the number 3. Horton opening up to a big lead, with Maury starting out of the 5th row, stalking further back in the pack, and racing it hard with Steve McCullough in the number 15 and Tabor in the number 28. Late caution bunching up the field, with Maury moving up to go at it side by side with Horton, as both drivers were, well, they were using every inch of the clay racing surface at a Cocopah Speedway trying to find the advantage. Maury eventually getting around Horton to take the win. Horton actually set fast lap in that race early on, but Maury just a teeny bit quicker late when it counted. Well, fender to fender, door handle to door handle, bumper to bumper, you can take your pick on that. It's all make for a great description of the action we saw last week out at Cocopah Speedway, and promises to be just as exciting tonight. Rubbing his race in the old phrase, and, well, just how hard they'll be banging on each other tonight. Well, only one way to find out, and that's to be there for yourself. Racing Radio, it's Cocopah Speedway's Laptime Live, presented by Cocopah Casino and by 1 Hour Air Conditioning and Heating. And we'll be back with more in just a moment here on Outlaw Country, AM 1400. And back once again on Cocopah Speedway's Laptime Live, Racing Radio here on Outlaw Country, AM 1400, brought to you by Cocopah Casino and by 1 Hour Air Conditioning and Heating. Little studio work this morning. We apologize for that little break there. And at this time, very happy to welcome to the studio this morning our special guest, Yuma's Brian Kerwin, driver of the number 41 IMCA Northern Sport Mod. And Brian, welcome to the show this morning.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Hey, thank you so much for taking time out of a busy race day to join us today. Of course, we're getting ready for round number 5 of the 2013 Cocopah Speedway Racing Series tonight. And we want to note to you race fans out there, gates, as always, open at 5, racing at 7 o'clock tonight. You've got a kind of an easy day of it, race fans, as you get set to go on out racing. But, Brian, you've got a kind of a full one in front of you.
Yeah, we got some work to still do on the car this afternoon. So we get done here, we're going to go take it over to the Team 86 shop and get some chassis setup work on it, and just go through some nuts and bolts and make sure it's good to go for tonight.
We were talking a little bit earlier about when you actually got your start in racing, and we talked about 1998 a little bit, and in 98 you were Rookie of the Year in the Yuma Speedway Dwarfs, and we'd also note Most Improved Driver at Colorado's I-76 Speedway back in 2001, but actually in that conversation we both kind of came to the realization it actually started out several years earlier for you.
Yeah, back in I think it was 93, me and my best friend at the time, Ben Blonsky, we both, I think, turned 16 right on that year, and we went out and had some fun that weekend on the Yuma streets, and I think he picked up 2 speeding tickets that weekend, and I think I got 1, and I think the reason why I got 1 is they didn't catch me for the ones, just didn't catch me on the other ones. So obviously both parents were pretty upset with us, and we went to school, and Monday Ben gave me a call and said, hey, you need to come over to the house. And so I said, all right, and I went to the house, and his car was stripped out, and his dad, Donald Blonsky, sat at the table. You two want to race? We're going to put you on the racetrack. And that's kind of all it started for us. He started racing, and I was his head pitman, and we did that for about 4 or 5 years, and he had some success in that. And then I went on, and I pitted for Bill Miller and some other teams. And then in about 1998, I decided, you know what, I want to do this myself, and bought a dwarf car out of Phoenix, and that's kind of where it started for me.
What led you first into a dwarf car? Because you've got experience in a lot of different cars.
You know, when I was pitting for Ben, they used to come down here, and they used to have the dwarf car nationals and stuff like that, and I always really liked the way they looked and that kind of thing, and I thought it would be the inexpensive way to go more than the factory stock, so the inexperience there. So I did some horse trading. I had a Honda CRX I actually traded for the car, and so I got into racing pretty cheap, and found out that a dwarf car was not the cheapest route to go. We did that for about a year, and for about a season out here, and we had some success in there. It was more downtime than it was uptimes there, and so we got. I bought a factory stock off of Joey Esri's mother when she was driving back in the 90s, and that's when I got my first factory stock and got into that.
Now, you were able to race here with that for a brief period, but then a move took place.
Yeah, back in 2000, after the track closed up here and stuff like that, and I built a car and raced over in El Central a couple times, and you know, the job took me out of Yuma, Arizona, up to Colorado, and never been to Colorado in my life, and just moved up there with the job, and found out there was a racetrack about 55 miles away, and I actually ran into a guy that actually raced, and at a grocery store, matter of fact, and we started talking about racing, and he was getting ready to move up to Montana, and pretty much gave me a car to race, and went over to Fort Morgan, I-76 Speedway, and we raced street stocks over there, and we had a lot of success over there. We had a huge sponsor that really helped me out. Did all the chassis set up and stuff for me, and told me how to drive, and I don't think we finished over the top 5 in any race up there. We did really, really well. Got most improved driver and had a lot of success, and then unfortunately the job that I had, the business actually closed down, and you know, I'm a Yuma boy, so I said it's time to come home, and so we came back to Yuma and kind of waited around for a while, and then David White got the track with a big hand and hit the track back and open, and we were back racing again. So
the last couple of years in particular, very interesting years for you after the renaissance, the rebirth of Cocopah Speedway, and you've kind of stepped your way through the divisions again, leading up to the Northern Sport Mods this year.
Yeah, we started out in factory stock. We bought a car out of Las Vegas. You know, and we thought, buying a car in Las Vegas, we thought it would be a good car to buy. So we went up there and bought it, and came back here and raced, and we had some success in that car. It was a plenty fast car. I think it was more driver error than the car. You know, we really loved running with the factory stocks, but, you know, I've always loved the modifieds, always watched the modified, and didn't think I had the money to compete in that class, nor did I think I had the driver skill to compete in that class. And then as I followed the national level more and more, the Northern Sports Mod, I got caught eye on the Northern Sport Mod. I was like, man, that's a really good class for me to go. I think that'd be a perfect fit. And at lunch one time, I mentioned to Greg, and Greg kind of smiled and said, it was already in the works, Brian. You know, and he was all over it already. And as soon as he got word that we were to go forward with this, I think James Pree was the first one, and I was in the hunt and got a hold of Brian Gray, number 83 modified in Yuma, and I traded a factory stock for the sport mod I had now, so it all worked out great for me.
I'll tell you what, that's a cool thing to see, the amount of sharing that goes on between the drivers, yourself. You mentioned some of the other competitors in competition, you know, helping to give you a leg up and bring you into the new division.
Oh, yeah. If it wasn't for the other drivers, there's no way I could do this, in particular David White and the Team 86 team. team. If it wasn't for those guys at the shop, I couldn't do this. It just wouldn't be possible. And James Dupree, I think he'd probably text me every day while I was building my car and ask me how it was coming along. And he pushed me a lot of ways too. He kept me motivated, and that's sometimes you need that when you're building a car and you still don't think it's ever going to finish. And with those guys, again, if it wasn't with those guys, I wouldn't be here.
Talking earlier again, too, before we came into the studio, you made a note of the Northern Sport Mod points leader, Ty Rogers, providing a lot of advice to you also.
Yeah, we came out, not ever racing modified, and I've worked, like I said, I've worked on a pit crew for quite different teams. Darrell Barr was one back in the '90s, and again Bill Miller, and there's a couple other ones that I got to pit for. But being a young, at the time I was a teenager, and I really wasn't sinking in the information like I probably should have. So jumping this Northern Sport, I really didn't have the knowledge that I needed to get into it. And we took the car out, and it just wasn't handling. The car wasn't rolling. And I said, man, we, knowing that we had to figure something out. And I said, well, Ty, he's setting the pace for the field. And so I emailed Ty and I said, hey, Ty, I just need some help. Can you help me out? And, and he was more than open. He was an open book. I probably asked him 50 different questions. And he steered me straight and came up the next race, and the car handled totally different, and it handled a lot better than it did. So that's good to know that you can go to a competitor and ask questions like Ty, and he can just shoot you straight and get you the right answer, and helps you out, because he wants the class to grow just as much as I do and help us all out. So it's real fortunate that we got a group of guys we do in the sport mod that does do that. We all get along real well, and it's just, going on the track, it's just fun knowing that you got the guys next to you going to race you clean, is going to help you out if something happens, and that's just a real good feeling to have.
It's Racing Radio here on Outlaw Country AM 1400. I'm your host, Mike Stanhope. Laptime Live, presented by Cocopah Casino and by 1 Hour Air Conditioning and Heating. Brian Kerwin, driver of the number 41 IMCA Northern Sport Mod, our guest this morning as we continue. And Brian, coming back to the challenges that you faced in this 2013 season so far, it's been a bit of a rough season for you, but here you are still at it.
Yeah, this is in my blood. We could break every week, and I'd probably find a way to get back out the track somehow. It's something I've always done. And we're gonna get there. We're gonna fight and struggle until we get there. And I don't like quitting. And until I win one, I'm not gonna quit. And that brings me to the point with my sons. They help me a bunch. They're always, if I work in the car, they're there. When I get down, they're there and say, hey, you know what, Dad, we can get this fixed. So that's a huge for me. They do a lot of work on the car. Like I said, they're there every time I work on the car, thrashing on the car just as much as I am. So, and they're pretty excited about it. And as long as they stay excited about it and I stay excited about it, we're gonna keep plugging away.
Well, you've plugged away at it, and you sit fifth in the points entering competition tonight. That better than you would hope for, or about where you would, thought you might be?
One of our goals walking in this season was a top 5. That's what we wanted to finish in the season, was top 5. I've only done that once in my career up in Colorado, and we've gotten close, but that's something I've always wanted to do. And if we keep on plugging away and keep on getting faster, and every race we get faster, I think we can accomplish that goal. We got to put the car on the trailer every night after races and complete laps, and that's the biggest thing right now. So as far as the question goes, yeah, we're probably right where I thought we'd be at.
Again, got to be pleased with that. Again, considering we were talking earlier, some of the mechanical issues, you fought the transmission a bunch this season.
That's our kryptonite. I hate that thing. We had some transmission problems, and that's some of that's driver's error. We're something totally different. Went to a direct drive system versus the conventional torque converter, and that some of it's been my issue. We're just trying to get it figured out, and and the different driving of the car, So once we get that transmission bulletproof, I think we're going to be okay.
Let's talk about some of the help, and you touched on this just a moment ago, that you've had in getting you back out just about each and every night of competition at Cocopah Speedway. You touched on your sons helping you out, and we'd take note, too, that it wasn't all that long ago you walked down the aisle and said I do's with your lovely wife, Jennifer. Got yourself a gorgeous family, and can you tell us more about the support they give you?
Oh, I couldn't do this. I say this a lot. I couldn't do this with a lot of help. And my wife's my number one supporter. It's my high school sweetheart. After 20 years, I finally convinced her to marry me. And I told her back in high school, "You're going to marry me someday." And everybody, yeah, whatever, Brian. And after 20 years, I think I finally tricked her into doing it. And so we got married, and again, without their help and with their support, I couldn't do this. I was pretty fortunate. Just this last week, I'm working on the car, and boys are out there in the garage working on it, thrashing on me. My wife's sitting there watching and talking, and it's kind of a family thing. Without that's what makes it fun, makes it worth it. She goes to the track and she gets dirty, she scrapes mud, and that means a lot to me, and it shows that she's there for me, and whatever I choose to do, she's going to be there to support me. So that's real awesome.
That's a very nice thing indeed. So besides family, anybody else that you would say who serves as an inspiration to you?
I said the Team 86 crew, David White and his sons. Again, without those guys, I could not do that. I could not do what I do without those. Jared White, David White. They put a lot of hours into my car, and Jordan, he helps me a lot on the spiritual side of things, so that I look up to that a lot, and Jared Hall is another one that I go to a lot on questionings, on different car setups and different stuff like that. So again, if it wasn't for those key players, I couldn't do what I do and love what I do. I know I'm not the best driver out there, but I get to do something that a lot of people don't get to do, and I have a lot of backing, with all my sponsors and my family and stuff. A lot of people don't get to say I get to drive a race car, and we get to do that, and we're blessed to do that, and I'm very blessed to have the people that help me out, because this is just not a Brian Kerwin show by any means, and there's a lot of different hands that go into this to make this work.
I want to come back to those supporters in just a moment, but here we sit on race day. Do you have a typical set of activities that you'll use to prepare for competition out at Cocopah Speedway?
Biscuits and gravy. My wife makes the best biscuits and gravy. We start off with that every Saturday morning, it seems like, and it all depends on how the week goes. If we get everything we want to get down the car, during the break and doing our homework, Saturdays are usually a kickback day for me for the most part. I don't usually stress about racing that much, because we stress during the week, and we try to get the car done on the trailer Friday night, and that's our goal every race. So today we're a little bit behind the ball this week, getting the transmission back late this week and stuff like that. So, typical is the biscuits and gravy, getting up, just kind of hanging out with the family for a little bit, and getting all my race gear and stuff ready to go, and just kind of just chill out and wait till time to go to the track.
I'll tell you what, relaxation got to be a key before getting behind the wheel of a race car, because we sometimes see some people amped up out there, and that can make it rather interesting at the start of a race.
I'm usually one of those guys that are amped up. That brings me to another point. You got to do your homework, and we try to, Friday afternoon, we kind of go and get the truck loaded and everything like that, so we can relax. And because I do get overexcited a lot of times, so it is relaxing to chill out on a Saturday and just wait until a race comes.
We talked about supporters just a little bit ago, and as we near the conclusion of today's edition of Laptime Live, know there's some other folks you'd like to specifically pass along some thank yous to.
I said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 times over. Without these guys, we couldn't do what we do. Mortuary and Cemetery, he's been a huge sponsor for me for several years. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, Yuma Signs. Yuma Signs has been with me for almost 20 years now. AVSA, Life Security and Safety, Extreme Towing, helps me out a ton. Apollo Drain Service, and Lenny Jones there, he helps me out a ton as well. David White's Construction and Plastering, and Lions Tattoo with me for several years as well, you know. Again, Team 86, can't say enough about what they do for me. Keith and Caleb, my sons, they rock it for me. Of course, Mom and Dad, they're always there. They've been with me from day one, and they're probably just as much involved in this as I am. And special thanks to Jared Hall. And a big thing for me is thanks to the military for what they do, you know. Far as we could not do what we do every single Saturday night and love what we do if it wasn't what they do for us every single day. So my hat's off to those guys. They keep us free, and they keep us doing what we get to do on Saturday nights.
Amen and salute. Brian, we thank you so much for being in with us today.
Well, thank you very much.
Brian Kerwin, one of the stars of the 2013 Cocopah Speedway Racing Series, back in action tonight at the Diamond in the Desert Cocopah Speedway. Remember, gates as always will be open at 5 with racing beginning at 7 p.m. And the shuttle buses will be running again tonight between Cocopah Casino and Cocopah Speedway, as they are for each and every race in 2013. It's a Diamond in the Desert, easy access, just park right over at the casino. Maybe enjoy yourself a late lunch or an early dinner. The many other entertainment options offered over at Cocopah Casino and the Wild River Family Entertainment Center before jumping on board that shuttle and coming on over to the Speedway. Now, following tonight's race action, Cocopah Speedway is again going to get set for sprint cars. Yeah, racing at its most elemental, the USAC CRA 410 non-wing sprints will be in town just 2 weeks from now for 2 nights of race action. On Friday, April 19th, and also on Saturday, April the 20th. Advanced tickets available now at select Yuma area Napa Auto Parts stores and also at the Cocopah Casino gift shop. You can find out more about tonight's race action, the upcoming USAC CRA sprints, and more by visiting Cocopah Speedway on the internet. All available at the click of a mouse button. Just stop in at www.cocopahspeedway.com and make sure you also like us on Facebook. Have a suggestion, an observation, or maybe a question that you'd like to pass along to one of the drivers here on Laptime Live, well, you can post to it via the Cocopah Speedway Facebook page. And we'd also note that when you're out at the racetrack, you can bring the action even closer via your smartphone or tablet with live lineups, scoring, and results. You can hook up through CocopahLive.com and at MyLaps.com, or you can access both applications through CocopahSpeedway.com. You'll also find handy links to Cocopah Casino, the Cocopah Resort and Conference Center, and more, again through CocopahSpeedway.com. You've been listening to Laptime Live, presented by Cocopah Casino and by 1 Hour Air Conditioning and Heating. And we'll be back with more next Saturday morning, 11 a.m., here on Outlaw Country AM 1400.